welcome to Common Sense Investing. My name is Cameron, and you're here for another Monday evening live stream talking about microcap stocks because that's what I do, that's what I love, and that's what I'm here to talk about. And luckily enough, this is another Monday evening live stream where I kind of get to celebrate, and that's kind of nice. I try not to overdo it too much. You know, you have to stay humble in stock market investing. You especially have to stay humble in microcaps. But, you know, it's end of June. I've had probably 25 live streams so far this year in 2025. This is probably the second time in all those live streams where I am going to allow myself some celebrations. Stocks are up. Microcap stocks are up. Some are significantly up. It seems like the bull run that we were supposed to get back in January, February, and March that we did not get thanks to Donald Trump, the U.S. elections, tariffs, and all that noise has now seemingly been pushed back to, you know, May, June, and hopefully July for a bull run in microcap stocks. And that's worth celebrating. So a couple things out of the way before I start discussing some of these stocks. Don't forget to like or subscribe this video if it gives you any type of benefit, as well as comment. I have a presentation for you. Every live stream I have a presentation. 25-30 minutes is usually how long my presentation is. In the meantime, if you want to ask questions, you want to heckle me, you want to comment about something, feel free to do it in the comment section. And basically, if I get to it, if you ask a question, I might try to get to it as I'm going through the presentation. But once I get to the end, I go through basically every one and we'll have a chat. I've got some time to talk about whatever other microcap stocks you want to talk about today that I'm not going to be covering in today's live stream. As well as, don't forget, if you're new to my channel, www.commonsenseinvesting.ca, that will introduce you to other ways to communicate with Common Sense Investing, including my Patreon, Discord, my Substack, and everything else I offer on YouTube and other locations, right? As well as, don't forget, this is not financial advice. I am not your financial advisor, and I mean it. I don't just say that as a disclaimer. I don't know anything about you, your experience levels, your risk tolerance, how much capital, are you a large capital investor, a small capital investor? That really takes time to discuss with people. But I don't think that we should be so afraid of that we don't talk about microcap stocks. That's what I hate, is we're so afraid of providing financial advice that we just don't talk about it at all. I try to break that mold, and I come on here every Monday evening talking about microcap stocks. So don't forget, everything I say, all my opinions here, it's not how to invest, it's just how I invest. And yeah. Don't hurt your back while giving yourself a pat. I'm not that old yet. I did hurt my back climbing some mountains recently, but yeah, I'm not going to pat myself too hard. The first time in forever that I could join the live stream, I'm also feeling good and need the moral support to stay humble. It's better than my previous live streams this year where I was basically offering therapy while Donald Trump was sending out these true social tweets about tariffs in the market. Microcaps especially were just crashing every day. We'd go into the weekend and Trump would drop some tweet and it was just like, oh my God, Monday is going to be a bloodbath, right? So being in a bull run right now in the markets is definitely better than what we've seen for the first part of 2025. All right, so let's talk about some stocks first, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Peter Lynch. But to start, Gatekeeper Systems. I mean, congratulations, people. This is a stock that I introduced down at 20 cents. I remember seeing it at like 18, 19, 20 cents when I first introduced it to my channel. That channel is now gone from YouTube because for those who stuck around, YouTube canceled my earlier channel on Christmas or Boxing Day of 2024. So I lost all my content from everything that I did prior to 2024, but I came back and made another video on Gatekeeper Systems and interviewed their excellent CEO, Mr. Doug Diamond, who was a pleasure to always have on this channel. And while I introduced Gatekeeper at closer to 20 cents, I mean, don't forget this video here that I interviewed Doug on. I think share price was at 50 cents Canadian. Either way, Gatekeeper is up significantly recently. I mean, just look at this massive spike here. That's absolutely incredible for shareholders, considering this is a long-term stock that's been on my channel since basically the beginning. Not sure what's going on here. There we go. Sorry about that. Why is it up? Well, one of the things is, social media. Gatekeeper has learned how to pump out somewhat relevant and relative content to investors recently, which is fantastic to see. So many companies underrepresent themselves on social media or just put out too much fluff. A trade show could be fluff for some companies, but for Gatekeeper Systems, that is where they drum up business. And really, when you look at it, it's almost every day just reminding investors that Gatekeeper is there working hard to get shareholder value. This was recorded today, just like an hour before I took this picture, as well as they're putting out all this social media content on smaller contracts that they weren't discussing before. Press release here, 450,000 school bus video contracts in Canada. It's amazing. You get a company that's a $33 million market cap company, or it was before this recent jump, and how important it is to communicate even some of these smaller contracts with investors, just because it helps them learn about your business model, learn about the type of clients you're getting, learn about the size of the contract you're getting. It's helping people model out their numbers for your future. It's just great social media communication with investors. But then, of course, what really got the stock rocking up recently is when this became evident on, I think it was first posted by somebody on CEO.ca, Long Island Railroad procurements, and this is a procurement in which Gatekeeper Systems has apparently won a contract that is just about $23 million. So at the time, Gatekeeper was, recently a $34 million market cap stock. They win this they've been putting out all these news releases of contracts for like 450,000, and here they win this contract for $23 million. Now, one of the things to remember is that that contract that was released on CEO.ca was to obtain the approval of the board to award various contracts and purchase orders. So it still needed board approval. Because of that, Gatekeeper has not been able to press release this, and it's not 100% either that it's going to get approved by the board. Probably pretty likely, but nothing is 100%. And what happened today is that Gatekeeper actually had to put out a press release saying, this isn't our fault. Like, we're not allowed to press release this. It's not 100% approved. It's not board approved. So yes, this information was made public by somebody not connected to Gatekeeper, but basically their share price has rocketed to the moon on news of this contract. Gatekeeper has not press released this contract yet. What Gatekeeper did press release today, though, was another line of credit, and that is to potentially fund their next stage of growth. So they're going to need some capital for a contract this large, and that is what they press released today. So, congratulations for Gatekeeper Systems shareholders. Up 585% since I introduced them on this channel, up 174% just since my January 2024 interview with Mr. Doug Diamond. And congratulations to Doug and his team. Absolutely fantastic work down there over at Gatekeeper Systems. Another big one. One of the nice things and the worst things about my channel is public record. I keep records, right? You could find my videos on YouTube. You could find my Substack articles on Substack. Everything is kind of tracked. And, Zoom went down to 8 cents here. I didn't catch them at 8 cents. There was some other brilliant investors that introduced me to this stock at around the 8 cent mark, but it took some time for me to research, do my own research, produce a video. People don't realize sometimes these videos take me weeks, months, 6, 7, 8 hours to produce because it's research. I'm researching the company. I'm not just grabbing any company off the street and making a video on it. These videos take hours and hours and hours and hours. Most of it's research. But I did introduce Zoom Technologies to my channel down here. It is now up to $1.49 Canadian. It closed up 8% today. And again, receipts. It's fantastic to go back sometimes and look and celebrate. This is me introducing Zoom Technology. There's the record right there, 16.5 cents Canadian. Sometimes, especially if you're a new investor, go back and watch this video on my channel, right? I talk about information from Ryan Telford and how I was looking at revenue growth, earnings growth, and valuation growth, and how that was lining up with Zoom Technology and the potential of Zoom Technologies due to those factors indicated by Ryan Telford. So I actually went back myself and rewatched this video today. But yeah, 16.5 cents is when I introduced Zoom Technologies. They closed today at $1.49. Why is that starting to get attention? When I first introduced them at 16.5 cents, $34,992 of this one trade was probably their entire trading day. This was today, and this wasn't even the full close. I think I took these pictures probably an hour before the day closed. Zoom Technologies, 3 true cross trades today for 23,000, 21,000, 10,000, as well as look at these large buys. This was just today, and this was not even the full day. So I'm not going to sit here and say for sure that these are institutions. There are a lot of anonymous buyers throughout here, not registered full brokers. It could be institutions, though. It could be some small funds. It could be just some very, very large interested shareholders. Either way, right now, Zoom Technologies is winning, and there's still pretty good potential. They just reported their Q1, which was very, very good. They got their Q2 coming up. Their competition from last quarter's Q2 is still pretty reasonable, 13.9 million. Remember, their competition gets a little bit harder starting here in Q3. It does get harder. Q1 was pretty easy from 8.7. This is really when they made this jump from 7 to 8 million in revenue up to 13.9. But this is their competition for Q2. 3 million adjusted EBITDA, 13.9 million of top line revenue. That is beatable. That's what they are going into for their next earnings. Zoom Technologies, another stock to celebrate, up 803% from my video introducing them publicly for free on YouTube, not even on my paid platforms. And this stock like this is why we invest in microcaps. $1,000 investment when I made my video would be worth $9,035 today, right? So this is the title of my video today, why we invest in microcaps. Just me, having some fun, trying to convince more retail investors that may watch this video in the future why us crazy people invest in microcap stocks. They're not going to all be winners. It's not like investing in very boring, large cap, safer stocks that might go up 5% to 10%. That's a win, right? You are going to get some misses with microcap stocks. That is a given. You balance the risk with the reward. But once you get winners like this, they are life-changing. They are portfolio-changing. Mind Technologies, finally up to 844. Still not super happy about that. Introduced them way back here again for free on my YouTube channel, like $3.50. They rocketed up at one point over $10. I thought that was a pretty good price for them. I thought that was fair. They rocketed back down to here where I bought. And yes, I am still a shareholder of Mind Technologies. And now they're back up here, which it's pretty interesting, but somewhat disappointing for this company. This was me, again, receipts. It's fun to go back through some of my old videos and take pictures. This is a screenshot from this video. back in whenever it was, late 2024. Look at this hat. I'm not sure why. It was definitely winter. I had on like a winter vest at the time. I'm pretty sure it was cold in my studio. I had on this like French hat. Don't ask me why. I should pull it out because it's probably my winter hat. But this is basically me introducing you to Mind Technology at $3.50. Why? Why still holds out? I'll be talking about Peter Lynch in a moment here and his investing strategy. But really, for me, it comes down to fundamentals, right? More than I look at technicals as far as when I'm going to buy, when I'm going to sell a stock. But if you look at Mind Technology, just significant improvement over the years. Revenue, operating income, EBITDA, and diluted EPS are all going up. They had a fantastic 2025. And, I hope this continues, and I hope this stock can keep going up. Either way, it's up 141%. This is the least of my winners so far that I'm presenting, up 141% since my video back here in late 2024. This is still one of my favorite companies. And yes, sometimes on social media, I am going to get mad because I do not think it's a $5 stock. I think that's ridiculous. I do not think it's a $6 stock. I think that's ridiculous. And while $8.44 is a little bit closer to making me happy, I'm still not happy. I still think this one is should be worth more, but that's just my opinion, and I have been wrong before. Like on this one, they're not all winners. Simply solventless concentrates, hash. This is a surprising one. This is cannabis. Hard industry niche to learn. I'm still learning, and mistakes have been made. It's down 26% in the year. But realistically, can we count this as a win? It was down 78 to 79% at one point here when it first crashed, when the change in the audit techniques came out, and all of a sudden their revenue was surprisingly lower than expected and expenses were surprisingly higher than expected. And that's not good, right? It was down 78 to 79%, starting to crawl itself a little bit out of the basement here. Closed today at 22 cents. I'm happy to see that. That's only down 73 to 74% from the highs. In all fairness, from the highs, not from when most people bought, but if you bought at the tippity top of the 52-week high of simply solventless concentrates, yeah, you're down about 73, 74%. Here's what I'd like to see though. If it can hold this for a while, I'll be happy. This is all I want to see. I'm just happy that it, for a second there, it was going to 18 cents, 18 and a half cents. I was worried it would drop further. So far, it's holding, it's consolidating. People that don't want to own hash anymore because of what happened are getting out, and yet the share price seems to be holding as people are getting back in who still believe in this company, at least at this price. What I don't want to see any more of is these large sell-offs here, and that seems to be going away, at least recently. A little bit of green, a little bit of positive volume. That's what I want to see from hash moving forward. The company is trying, maybe not succeeding. Maybe people don't like the tries or think they could do more. But since their full year audited earnings that basically crashed the share price, all the news since then has all been positive. Their Q1 was actually pretty good if you didn't know what happened, right? They've brought in this brand from California. They announced an agreement with Natura Life Sciences to launch this brand. They paid off some debt, some promissory notes, and I don't know if people realize I do have a Substack. I do write some free articles, and in this update for June, summarizing microcap stocks in June of 2025, basically, though, I said this. I'm not really bullish. I'm not really bearish right now on hash. I don't know how to feel about it right now, and when that happens, I am simply trying to ignore the noise, trying to ignore people's opinions, and I'm out there right now collecting evidence and information and facts to try to figure out what to do next with hash, right? Remove it from my channel as a failed stock? double down on it a little bit and give it some more coverage because it can potentially recover? I haven't decided yet. I'm waiting for more information to come in. It's down significantly. I know some people out there are getting crazy hopeful after their Q1 that potentially it could go back up to these prices. I will say, I would be hella impressed if at some point over the next fiscal year, by the end of their fiscal year, if they could get back up to 40 cents, which would basically be a double from where they've been recently at 20 cents Canadian, that would be a significant improvement and or recovery for simply solventless hash. So is that possible? I don't know. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. Kraken Robotics. This is pretty much one of the spearhead type stocks for my channel. I think what really started growing my subscribers on YouTube was the success with Kraken Robotics. I made a lot of videos on Kraken Robotics at 28 cents, 30 cents, 35 cents, 65 cents, 90, screaming. Just like, I love this company. Look at what they're doing. Take a look at Kraken Robotics. They're now up to $3.07. I'm so happy about that. I talked about it last week. They were so close. They had this $100 million deal bought financing. And it's fascinating how, one of the most famous quotes from Ian Castle from Microcap Club is basically just look at how many times a microcap stock will give you an opportunity to buy it. This was a stock that was, up here almost at $3. They announced this $100 million bought deal financing at $2.66. The stock dropped to $2.65, just like, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, recently, right? It just dropped to that financing price, and since then rocketed back up to $3.07. So not just holding, I was hoping that it would crack and hold $3. Not only did it break through $3 and hold $3, I mean, at least for now, maybe I don't want to jinx it, but $3.07 and still going up. So congratulations to Kraken. Again, when I go back through time, this old video was deleted. This was from 2023. At the time, Kraken was one of the more disappointing stocks on my channel. I had covered, these were my top 5 picks for, I think, 2023. I mean, H2O Innovations was up over 60%. Well Health Technologies was up over 35%. Gatekeeper, even back then, was up over 64%. Current Water Technologies was a dud. It didn't go down, but it basically ended flat. So Kraken Robotics at the time in 2023 was my number 2 stock, and it was the 4th worst stock on this list. But instead of downgrading it, I actually upgraded it. H2O Innovations was sold, so this stock was gone. And instead of downgrading Kraken Robotics, I upgraded them to my number 1 pick. That was in my 2024 best Canadian stocks. So back here, they were at 28 cents. Here, this video, they were at 67 cents. Absolutely fantastic. Again, I've got the receipts. This was the free video on YouTube, and now up significantly. So up 996% since my introduction on Kraken Robotics on YouTube, and they're up 358% just since that 2024 video right here. So Kraken Robotics at this point for me is now almost an 11x stock. Absolutely fantastic. Love this company. So just a reminder, I get to celebrate sometimes, right? So when I make some of these videos, it's interesting still how not all of them are going to be winners, but I've got a pretty good record. I don't make these videos for my own health. Like I said, some of them take, 7, 8, 9 hours, 10 hours, including research. Recently, I made some videos on Neuraxis, Sanuwave. People get mad. People say, oh, this is a garbage company, shitty stock. Maybe, right? But if you go through the list, these are some of my recent videos: Total Telecom, Hypercharge Networks, Neuraxis, Sanuwave. I guarantee out of this list, you're going to get another 1 or 2 Kraken Robotics and or Gatekeeper Systems, right? do your own research, make sure it's a company that you're comfortable with, but eventually one of these stocks is going to be a winner. And I absolutely love that. And then finally, I just wanted to finish off here with a quick hit, because on my Patreon Discord, we had a live stream. I was talking about Peter Lynch. And, I'm kind of known as like a CanSlim investor. Modified CanSlim is a strategy for investing in microcap stocks made famous by Paul Andreola. And this is one of the investing strategies I use. Absolutely, a modified CanSlim method. But it's interesting because typically what I tell people all the time is go through different books, look at all the best investors, and pull out the pieces of what works for you. And we were talking about Peter Lynch in this book, One Up on Wall Street. And it's interesting, I have not read this book in a long time, but when I go back, the same as I go back and look at some of my videos, it's interesting to see what little pieces I pulled of my strategy, just pulled from Peter Lynch. Completely stole it, right? But I mean, Peter Lynch talks about small companies with big potential or where the 10 baggers hide, and that ordinary investors can find these companies before institutions do. That is the whole basic premise of my channel and why I love investing in microcap stocks, right? Now, this is written in 1989. I'm sure there's updates to the book. It is slightly outdated, but this is one of those few books for microcap investors that being slightly outdated can be a good thing, because it's fascinating. When I went through this book again, I haven't reread it. I just went through the summaries here just to remind myself what was in the book. And it's interesting in how much that I agree with. Invest in what you know. You will see me over and over again on this channel ask why. Somebody will pitch a stock. I'll be like, why? Like, why are you interested in it? Why are you buying? Why are you buying at this price? Really, you need to invest in what you know. But one of the best things about Peter Lynch in saying that this book is outdated is because it's easier now. It's easier for us retail investors to do this, right? Invest in what you know was very, very hard back in 1989, through the 90s, through the 2000s. How are you going to learn a new industry niche if you're not already an expert in it, if you don't already work in it? It took a lot of time. Maybe you got to go to a library, right? Nowadays, as long as you're willing to put the time and effort into something, you could get online and learn about a lot of different industry niches, learn about a lot of different companies, right? He talks about doing your homework. I completely agree. But again, being outdated, this book, it's a good thing, because doing your homework has now been changed from something that used to take months, again, potentially newspapers, magazines, library, right, investing books, to weeks. We could do research now in weeks thanks to artificial intelligence and everything else available on the internet. But again, it all comes down to, for me, what I try to tell people, be able to tell me why, be able to explain why. Why are you buying? Why are you selling? Why do you like this company? Why do you not like this company anymore? Lynch wisdom in 5 quotes. I also love this. The person that turns over the most rocks wins the game. Again, why should retail investors be investing in microcap stocks? Because nowadays, right, 2025, turning over rocks, it's now like we're using heavy equipment instead of in the old days when Peter Lynch was doing this by hand, right? We've got online social media, we've got all these AI tools, software, and sites that are able to help us turn over way more rocks than anybody was able to do previously. I absolutely love it. So it was good to go back, look at all these success stories, but also look at this older book and see what I actually pulled from it and what I didn't. It was interesting because one of the things I didn't pull from Peter Lynch just kind of made me laugh is he's pretty famous for this quote, diversification. He used to say he would invest in 2 or 3 stocks that he was very knowledgeable in. I like a little bit more diversity. Right now, I'm up to about 20 microcap stocks in my portfolio. So we don't all have to be the same or do the same thing, but it's great research. I suggest anybody interested, any new investors, go back, take a look, and read Peter Lynch, One Up on Wall Street. Fantastic book. And, when I make my investing strategy, which is this, build a thesis, evaluate the inputs, evaluate my thesis, and decide whether I'm going to buy, trim, sell, or hold. You know, it's interesting. I steal from all investors because this was an old quote from Ian Castle. Buy and hold isn't buy and forget, it's buy and verify your thesis. And the smaller the company, the more often you verify. So it's interesting because this was a tweet from Ian Castle back in 2021. I thought this was very original coming from me, and now I realize I may have just stolen it from some old tweet from Ian Castle, right? So, you know, it's hard to come up with new content these days. It seems like everything new that I come up with is stolen from somebody from like 5 to 20 years ago, right? So I thought that was funny, but that's it. I'm done. Just wanted to say congratulations, you know, show people, new investors, if you're watching this channel, basically why we're here, why we invest in these microcap stocks for this type of potential, for these types of returns, for these types of bull runs. I mean, it is absolutely wonderful to see. I hope everybody is making some money out there. Congratulations. I'm done. I'm going to go to Q&A, see what other stocks, what other companies you want to talk about. Now's your chance. I got 30 minutes of time if you got anything else you want to talk about. So let's do it. And thanks for watching so far. How's my long weekend going? Well, great. It's I guess I should say that the Canadian stock market is closed for Canada Day on Tuesday this week. And the U.S. stock market is closed, what, Thursday this week? So a bit of a weird week, right? We got Tuesday, Canada shut down. Thursday, the U.S. is shut down. I'm doing great. I mean, there's nothing wrong when stocks are going up. You know, I'm a weird guy, though. I'm happy when stocks are going down sometimes because it gives me buying opportunities, and I'll come out with a live stream here on YouTube trying to motivate people. Like, don't be upset because you're losing money in the stock market. Look at the good companies that are out there. Look at how cheap some of these prices are. But in saying that, I also get to celebrate some wins when I'm right and those stocks go up and people are making money. So I'm happy. Everything's good. Thanks for asking. And let's see here. I found you as I deep dived into PNG, Kraken Robotics. Yeah, it's amazing how many people say that. I still have, you know, a core group of subscribers today from Kraken Robotics, and going back all the way to like mid to early 2023 when I first started my channel. And thank you. I really appreciate it, right? And it's interesting how this is one thing I struggle with as a content creator on YouTube, because most people on YouTube, when they make a video, it can be relevant for years and you'll make money for years, right? And so you could make a video and just, it's passive income. You just see that money come in. As a financial, like a stock market channel on YouTube, I don't get that. I make a video. I don't know if people realize this. Each video I make on YouTube, I think makes me around $5. Right? That's it. I don't make money on YouTube ads. So basically the videos show up, people watch them, and then they disappear because they're not really relevant. It's not relevant to really go watch a video on Kraken Robotics from like 2 years ago. So that's the unfortunate part. If anybody's thinking about being like discussing stocks on YouTube, it's challenging, right? But it's worth it when they go up like this and then people research the stock and they'll be like, holy shit, this guy has been covering it for 3 years and it's been a huge winner. That's basically when I get my benefit. So thank you for finding me through Kraken Robotics. Read both of Lynch's books, highly recommended. Yeah, absolutely. I haven't read it in a long time. My big one here, How to Make Money in Stocks. That is the CanSlim method that I use quite a bit. I use a bit of a GARP style of investing as well. So I haven't read Peter Lynch in a while. I should probably go back and reread it. Any opinion on High Tide? Not really. High Tide is cannabis retail stock in Canada. It's one of the few true Canadian stocks I have on this channel. It's interesting. I'm gonna have to make another video because people say I'm a Canadian microcap investor. I went through my list the other day. I only have 3 true Canadian stocks on my channel, 6 if you include the cannabis stocks. I got 3 Canadian companies and 3 more Canadian companies that are cannabis. High Tide is a Canadian cannabis retailer. It recently dropped, crashed in share price. They had they got distracted from their operations in Canada, which is brick and mortar retail stores serving cannabis. And they were trying to do this acquisition in Germany. It fell through. Share price crashed. When their share price crashed, this other company, Sundial, started buying their shares. They were going to go for an aggressive takeover. That seemed to be blocked a little bit. So far, High Tide has been trying to crawl themselves out of the basement. They dropped to like $2.80. They're back up to like $3.15. That's great. They're losing my trust. I would like them to be focused on their core business, their Canadian retail stores. They're not. They're looking again at Germany. I'm not sure how I feel about that, right? Your core, no, I don't know any of those stocks, sorry. What do we got here? Serve, High Tide, ACB, and Joby. So I'm not a huge fan of High Tide. I don't know Joby, I don't know Serve, and I don't know ACB. So that's way too many stocks for me to talk about right now on this live stream because I'd have to do some research, considering I don't know any of them but High Tide, but I'm not a big fan of High Tide. You could ask the question later when I have more time, and I could take a look at some of those other ones just to see. Opinions on BioRem. I mean, my opinion is in my recent article, right? I was talking about how these cyclical stocks are starting to make a comeback, and that is what BioRem has been doing. So we all knew, thanks to Stocks and Stones, that their quarter back here was going to be challenging. Donald Trump was going to be challenging. Contracts were slow to come in, and shipping was difficult for them. It has since started to rebound a little bit. That has probably been on hope because most other companies, most other customers and clients and companies have been slowly able to figure out shipping, have been slowly finding ways to dodge tariffs, and have been starting to recover. So Symmetrix, ADF Group, there's a whole list of these cyclical companies out there that have been slowly starting to recover from Trump since about the springtime. BioRem is no different. The problem is I don't think we know what to expect for their next earnings. Earnings here, they say, are expected in August. I think those will be, what, Q2 earnings? I have no idea what to expect. I hope that they figure out, shipping issues, and I hope they don't get additional tariffs on them, and I hope the contracts come through. I don't know for sure. I'm not super bullish on BioRem right now because I don't know the answers to those questions. But where I would be more bullish on BioRem, why they've made my channel anywhere in these prices, is if you're willing to be kind of a long-term shareholder. This is a good company. This is a good company, good management, and a good product. So, but they're cyclical, and you're going to get these things, especially with Trump around. You're going to get challenges, and they simply hit a down cycle. Are they on an up cycle? Does that take more time, less time? Will it take 6 months, 3 months? Will it take a couple years? I don't know. But if you're interested in BioRem, I think you really have to be looking at management, the quality of the management, the quality of the product, and you have to be thinking more long-term rather than short-term. I think if you're too focused on BioRem for the short term, you're going to get old too soon, and you're going to go gray, and you're going to have too much anxiety. So good company, but what they're going to do in the short term, I have no idea. Hopefully in a couple of years, Glow Life and other new ideas will be getting the same recognition as the nice list of winners you had. Well, here's the thing is, people ignore some of the videos that I put out on companies like Glow Life. If you look at my investing strategy personally, and not financial advice, just personally, I tend to buy quite a few different small speculative positions on some of these stocks, so I monitor them. Some of these best stocks that I've kind of filtered out 80 to 90% of the worst companies. I'm making videos on some of the best 10, 20%. And some of these companies, though, I've talked about it recently, you have to pick a timeline or you're going to go gray, right? You're going to have too much anxiety. You're going to buy at the wrong time or sell at the wrong time. Like when I'm looking at Glow Life Tech here, and I've said this over and over and over, is that they have a shit pile of warrants and or stock options. I forget right now. I think they're sitting at like 7 cents. A lot of warrants right in here. I'm talking millions, something like 70 million warrants right in here. So, you know, even for Glow Life Tech, when people got really excited about this company, I actually was trying to sell it right here because, you know, the warrants sitting in this price range are going to be a drag on the stock. But when I talk about a timeline, you know, for me, I like the company, I like the product, I'm watching them. I think this is really going to be, if they're going to win, it's going to be a 2026 success story. Because 2026, they should have significant growth. They should have positive cash flow. That's really what I'm watching for, is positive cash flow, so they don't need any more financings to pay the bills. And if they can do that, we can get share price to just slowly go up to 7, 8, 9 cents. We could run through some of these warrants or let the warrants expire. And then 2026, if the company is executing, the warrants expire or are issued, then 2026 is really a time where a company like Glow Life Tech can succeed. So it's interesting for me because, you know, I find so many new investors especially get excited. They buy because, oh, the stock is going up and it's the greatest, and they don't do their research like Peter Lynch says to do. And then it goes down, they get disappointed and they sell, and this company sucks, and now we're back down to 5 cents. The truth is, if you do your research, you know the company, you know the stock, company like Glow Life Tech, if it's going to succeed, is probably a 2026 success story. The question becomes with some of these stocks, right? Do you wait? Do you wait and pay a higher share price later? Or do you kind of just take the risk that it's going to succeed? You've done your research today. You're willing to risk a little bit of money, and you get it at hopefully a cheaper price today, and it succeeds into the future, right? But I always talk about timeline. Build a time. If I didn't have like an expected timeline, like I am going to own this stock for 6 months, I am going to reevaluate in 6 months. If I didn't have that, I would be gray right now, and I'm not. I got quite a bit of hair, and I'm not gray. Thank you for the videos. You're welcome. I hope people appreciate it. Well, I don't know why everybody, it's almost every live stream, people ask me about Aduro Clean Technologies. I don't like the company. I don't like the stock. This is a heavily promoted warrant pumper. It's up 300% or something like that. I'm happy. I like seeing retail investors make money. That's what I'm here to see. That's what makes me happy, is when retail investors make money. But Aduro Clean Technologies makes no revenue, really hasn't proven anything. They have no income. They're cash burning. They're increasing their cash burn every year, and somehow their share price is going up. And that's because it's a promoted warrant pumping stock. Ethically, morally, ethically, I can't get involved with that. I don't support those stocks. They will not hear anything nice from me whatsoever. Those are not the kind of companies that I'm interested in. Those are not the type of stocks that I'm interested in. I've called this one a shitco numerous times. I'll call it a shitco again today. Maybe it makes people money. People can trade it. I hope retail investors make money in the stock market, but not me. I don't like Aduro Clean Technologies. Yes, it was Kraken that was responsible for me finding you too. Thanks for that. It kickstarted everything after the post-COVID collapse. Absolutely. And that's why I started my channel back then, is I just saw so many people struggling in that COVID collapse of late 2021 and early 2022. And, you know, didn't want to see investors just sell and give up. I mean, if you look back in hindsight, it's fascinating, because if we had all just sold the house, sold the cars, got a high-paying job, and invested every penny we had into some of these stocks back in 2022, everybody would be wealthy today. But at the time, 2022 was a dark, terrible time. Everybody was scared. Valuations were low. Fear was high. Everybody had lost money. People were leaving the stock market, going to crypto, right? And yeah, it's interesting to look back because 2022 was such an incredible opportunity for some of these companies like Gatekeeper and Kraken Robotics and so many others. But at the time, it sure didn't seem like it, right? You're doing a great job. Thank you for the content. You are very welcome. Piper Sandler initiated coverage in late May with a price target of $12, and Wedbush and H.C. Wainwright maintained outperform and buy rating last month with a price target of 15 and 18. Okay, that's cool. I don't know the stock. I don't know Sound. I will say, and I'm not saying this to be mean, but typically, let's take a look. SoundHound. I've looked at SoundHound before, and they're not on my channel, which probably isn't a good sign. Why is that? Because you're introducing a stock that is not relevant to my channel. $4 billion market cap company. Good luck. I'm a microcap investor. I don't invest in these types of companies. One of the reasons, it's a good thing to point out though, one of the reasons why I don't invest in these types of companies and why, you know, why is everybody not investing in microcaps when you can get these stocks that have 800% returns? It's because you have to do the work yourself. That's what I find. It's so funny to me to watch some of these investors of larger cap stocks come down into microcaps thinking they're hot shit and just completely lose their ass. And the reason is because a lot of the larger stocks, you're not really doing the work yourself. You're looking at research reports, you're reading opinions on Seeking Alpha, and you find the research reports that you like the best, and you find the opinions on Seeking Alpha you like the best, and you just agree with other people's work, and then you invest in the stock and make money in that stock or not. But you're not digging into the filings, you're not digging into the earnings, you're not looking at the numbers yourself. That's what differentiates microcap investors, because it's harder. It's more work. It's getting easier thanks to artificial intelligence, Perplexity, ChatGPT, the Gemini, those types of AI are really helping microcap investors right now. It's shortening the amount of time that we need to do research and go through filings. It's got some automatic reading features instead of, you know, an 80-page document. Instead of me trying to like read all 80 pages to find what I'm looking for, I could just AI it, right? Great. But we still have to do the work ourselves. And that doesn't happen with some of those larger stocks. Surge Battery Metals Nilly, any opinion? I'll tell you right now, my opinion won't be good just because it's a battery stock. I tend to not chase these hype type companies, and you know, right now it seems like batteries are making a comeback. Now, in saying that, on my channel, that doesn't mean I might not take a stock, like a popular stock, in a trade. That's basically the CanSlim process, right? Fundamentals are improving even a little bit. Technicals look great. The market's doing great. Everybody's excited about batteries. Everybody's excited about uranium, whatever they're excited about, AI or data centers. If the market's going up and you think you could take a short-term trade and make money, why the hell wouldn't we do that and make money, right? Some will be winners, some will be losers. It depends how good you are at it. But there's no reason why, you know, people can't take a trade in stocks. But if I'm looking with some of these battery material stocks, they're somewhat like Aduro Clean Technologies. My guess is the financials of it aren't very good. I'm sure this is earnings. The stock has been going down on earnings, so my guess is the earnings are not very good. Surge Battery Metals, yeah, pre-revenue. So when I look at when I look at Peter Lynch, and if you go read those Peter Lynch books, he absolutely talks about what's important, which is income. He actually talks about the PEG ratio being king, which is price to earnings over growth, right? Meaning you need income, you need earnings. This is a company without revenue yet, never mind earnings. So investing in a pre-revenue stock like Aduro Clean Technologies and Surge Battery Metals me, and I'm not saying this to be mean, it just has to be said, it's not investing. This is speculating. When a company is not making any revenue, we don't know what the margins will be. We don't know what the costs will be. We don't know if it has product market fit. We don't know if it's going to be successful. It's simply really hard for me to call it investing. It's just speculating, right? You're guessing based on some information on research on how things should do, but you don't really know. You don't really have any answers because it's just too soon, right? So my opinion is, stock like that does not come anywhere near my channel. Like I should say, I usually only once per year introduce a pre-revenue stock to my channel. This year, that stock was North Star Clean Technologies. Now, they're not even pre-revenue. They actually do make a little bit of revenue, $745,000 trailing 12 months. So I basically consider that pre-revenue. The only reason I have North Star Clean Technologies as a pre-revenue stock introduced to my channel is because they are opening up their new facility in Calgary sometime in mid 2025. So as of, middle of this year, they will no longer be a pre-revenue stock. And that's the only reason that North Star Clean Technologies is on my channel, is because they will make revenue soon. And I don't have to sit here and speculate for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years into the future that some magical product is going to succeed, right? Biggest win because of you was NCI, which is NTG Clarity Networks. If you ever get out to Ontario, I've got to take you out for a beer. Yeah, congratulations. I left them off the list today because I talk about them quite a bit. One of the things I'll say with NTG Clarity Networks is that this company, I'd like to take even credit for finding it, although I don't like to do that because, I think we find some of these stocks. Usually I'm not the one that discovers it. Sometimes it's people coming up to me, Cameron, what do you think about this stock? And I take a look and I like it, and then I put it on my channel. So I shouldn't even say that I discover some of these stocks, but one of the things that made a huge difference from NTG Clarity Networks, where they deserve all the credit, I've never seen a company switch their communication with shareholders so much. Where back here, they had no communication with shareholders. They improved to kind of having some communication with shareholders, but it was pretty shitty. And they just learned. Their management group there, especially, Adam Zaghloul, learned what investors were looking for, learned how to communicate with shareholders. And when you combine that with some financial success, with better communication, really, as far as I could say, congratulations to Gatekeeper Systems, who is now learning to do kind of similar to what NTG has been doing, which is better communication with shareholders. Really, they're the ones that came out of the gate with that improvement, putting out their own earnings calls, talking with investors, answering questions, making it clear for even average retail investors who aren't institutions, understand what that information is. I'm really, really happy about NTG Clarity Network. So congratulations. I hope you made a shit pile of money on that. As much as the money is great, I really take from NTG Clarity Networks kind of the learning experience of watching a company evolve over the past 18 months, not only in the business, but in how they communicate with shareholders. So absolutely fantastic. I like CanP, a US, never heard of it. Hey, everybody here, it's got stocks. Well, I guess I know some of these stocks, but definitely some companies that I have never heard of at this point. I can't even say this one. It's up 20% in the year. It benched up recently. What does this company do? Kanikapali Land, together with subsidiaries, engages in the property and agriculture business in the state of Hawaii. not my niche of experience, but like Peter Lynch says, I could probably go learn that if I wanted to now in a couple weeks or a couple months instead of a couple years. I've never been to Hawaii. The agriculture segment is involved in farming, harvesting, and milling operations. That sounds interesting, but for me, this might as well be in Europe. This is quite a ways out of my experience. I don't know anything about farming in Hawaii. It's interesting though. It would need some explanation for me because it does look like they're actually declining. They're not improving, at least on a revenue basis. EPS is looking pretty weak. So I don't know anything about this stock, but at this point, I would go back to Peter Lynch. You would really need to explain to me why you're interested in this stock. And if you know the business, you should be able to explain that pretty well. Let's see here. What are your thoughts on Zoomed? I think I just gave those. I just gave my thoughts on Zoomed. It's a fantastic company. It's really succeeded well. They're going up against a Q2, which is beatable, right? I like that. Remember, my thoughts are that I evaluate on the changes coming in. So if you're asking for my thoughts for the next like 12 months or anything, I don't really have any. My thoughts are this. I'm going to wait and see. The company right now has earned me holding this stock, right? I built a thesis. They've not only achieved that thesis so far, they've exceeded it. I'm going to be waiting for the next input, which is let's see how they do on Q2. I'll evaluate the numbers from Q2. I'll evaluate what the CEO says. I'll evaluate my thesis. And at that point at Q2, decide whether I want to buy, trim, or sell. If I have been trimming or do trim in the future, it will be mostly because, at this point, probably overweight, right? When a stock goes up as much as Zoomed has, you start looking at a stock in your portfolio that's kind of taking over. And so I understand why people would trim right now just to decrease the risk in your portfolio. But if you're doing that, congratulations, because that means you bought super cheap and you've made like, 1,000% returns and you're like, holy shit, this stock is too large right now. I need to take some profits. That's no problem. But yeah, look, I like the company. Zoomed has earned more time from me. That's really all I can say is they've earned more time. They've earned more coverage. Pump and dump. Not sure which company you're referring to. There's a lot of them out there. With Aduro, are not investing the product itself and how it can be revolutionary. I don't give a shit. I'm sorry to say that. I've heard that so many times, so many companies. Oh my God, this product, it's going to kill rats. It's going to change the world. Metamaterials was one of my famous stocks back in the Kraken Robotics days. Metamaterials was going to change the world with their micromaterial products, and they apparently owned more oil than the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Iran together. It was absolutely insane. These companies make promises. They're allowed to make promises. They're allowed to say, oh, we've got this amazing new product that's going to change the world. I'll believe it when I see it. Right now, the share price of Aduro has been going up for basically two reasons, is because they hand out shares and warrants to people, and then they pay promoters to increase the price of their stock to make their warrant holders and options holders happy to finance them again and get more warrants and more options, right? So this is a warrant pumper. I don't give a shit about their product. I really don't. I mean, to say it can be revolutionary hasn't made any money. It doesn't make any money. How is that revolutionary, right? Yeah, and I've heard, protected by patents. Go look again, Metamaterials. I told this to people. Metamaterials was like $1 billion market cap stock. Metamaterials is now bankrupt. And I'm not saying that will happen to, I don't know if I could find Metamaterials anymore. I can't. Metamaterials went from being $1 billion company to bankrupt. They're down to zero. They had something like 400 patents. Each patent is worth around $10,000. That's it. That's what a patent is worth, right? Patents mean absolutely nothing to me. They might mean something to me if you have a product that is producing significant amounts of revenue and income, and that's because somebody wants to replicate that and steal it from you, that's when a patent is important. When your patent is making $0 and burning cash, what? Why even have a patent? Who's going to steal that? Who's going to copy it? Right? It's proven nothing. It's making no money, and it's burning cash. Why even have a patent? So I hate to say it, but patents in pre-revenue stocks, it's a story stock, and it's people fall for it. Do your research, right? Isn't that like right now for roof? Sure, but like I said, roof probably a month from now is going to have a fully operational facility with revenue and margins and maybe income that I could look at least EBITDA that I can look at. So in a month, I'll have numbers to look at. When is Aduro Clean Technologies going to have revenue and margins and income? I don't fricking know, right? I just don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's interesting. Thanks for taking the time to answer my question. No problem. Also, Zoom broke out again, just keeps going up. I showed you why in the presentation today. Lar, if it's not institutions buying this one, $100 million market cap seems to be like that line where institutions become interested. And so maybe some small funds, maybe it's just some, like a lot of large investors that are buying Zoomed right now. I don't know. But if you go look at it today, 25 trades on the day that were over 20 grand. I don't think that's, well, it's definitely not just your small average retail investor. I don't think all the 55 people that are watching this live stream are putting 20 grand into Zoom today. So it's probably Zoomed is going up thanks to institutions, possibly small funds, and or large investors. Zoom just released some decent earnings and is growing their client base pretty nicely. They're doing a lot of things pretty nicely. Mostly what they're doing nice is building trust. They're differentiating, or they did differentiate themselves from so many other ad tech companies through the interviews that they did with Planet Microcap and small cap discoveries, right? Zoom went from being a company that it was just another ad tech stock in a bucket of ad tech stocks that was performing pretty good into, hey, I'm starting to like what this management group is doing. I'm starting to build some trust. I'm starting to understand their business a little bit more. CEO interviews and going to these presentations like Small Cap Discoveries, Planet Microcap, Microcap Club absolutely earns a share price bump if it's deserved in the fundamentals, right? So they've been doing a lot of good things, right? Let's see here. Camp isn't about farming. It's a play on the official community plan for West Maui, old sugarcane land, soon to be developed as luxury acreage and multifamily developments. Current EV is $37,000. Look, fantastic. This is the beauty of microcap investing. This is where you make money. If you could find a company that is hard to research, difficult to understand, and you could put in the work to figure it out and become the expert in that company, in that industry, realize the value. If you could do all that, realize that it's cheap, it's growing, it's going to be profitable, it's going to be a stock that other people are going to be interested in the future, that's how to do it. That's how to make money in microcap stocks. I absolutely, love that. As for me, I'm not sure if that helps. Whether it's farming or whether it's a luxury acreage and multifamily developments. Again, it's Hawaii. Typically, one of the things I say in microcap investing is what Peter Lynch just said. You have to know the company. You have to know the industry sector. You have to do your research. I don't know anything about Hawaii. Never been there. Know nothing about it. So for me to take on a company like Camped, I would probably have to put in, 5, 6, 7 hours, a full day of research just to get myself in a position where I could have any opinion on this company. So right now, I do not have any opinion on it, but it's been noted on this live stream. You love it and you put in the work. So absolutely. Hopefully that works out for you, right? Thanks for the input. I get what you mean by retail investments. Yeah, no problem. Okay, that guy promoting a Duro, it's a pump and dump. Well, it hasn't dumped yet. That's the problem with warrant pumpers is they why would it dump? Everybody keeps making money because you hand out warrants, you promote the stock, everybody makes money. You hand out more warrants, you promote the stock again. At some point, it's going to reach some kind of tipping point where people are just going to be like it's been years, like time to put up or shut up. But so far, it hasn't reached that tipping point. With metamaterials, it took, I think, 3 years. They basically ran out of cash, right? So, if people want to keep funding this company, people keep making. I'll tell you when Aduro Technologies is going to fail is when at some point, if for any reason their share price goes down. If all of a sudden the people that hold the warrants and the people that have been doing the financings, the people that are getting paid in stock to promote it, if all those people all of a sudden are not making money because share price has gone down, that's when you're going to see that those gains disappear and the stock start to go down, right? So other than CanSlim book, is there any other books or material you'd recommend for small caps or stock market investing in general? Probably not books. I mean, I do love some of the books, but there's such small pieces you could take out of it. If you go to my Substack, I put out a free article there. And in the article, there's a link to a podcast from Kyle Greaves. Right now, I'd say the best learning tool for new microcap investors and even a maintenance tool for experienced microcap investors are the podcasts out there, right? You've got your Kyle Greaves, We Study Billionaires. You've got your Planet Microcap podcasts. You've got Small Cap Discoveries putting out CEO interviews on YouTube, right? You've got all these kind of video and audio inputs. Ian Castle just had an interview from We Study Billionaires from Kyle Greaves. That hour and 30 minutes was I got more from that than probably 2 or 3 books that would take me a couple months to read. So there's some tremendous videos and podcasts out there. Even following Ryan Telford on X is such a huge learning tool, I think, from even the new, but even experienced people. Ryan Telford's matching the qualitative things we're seeing in microcap stocks. He's providing the qualitative data, or the quantitative data, to either support it or disprove kind of the qualitative. And it's this fabulous connection between the qualitative and the quantitative. Yeah, I'd say podcasts and videos right now. Other than that, I don't have a lot of books that I would suggest. This one and the 100 Baggers by Christopher Meyer is the 2 books. When I teach new investors how to invest, I use this one, the CanSlim method, and Christopher Meyer's 100 Baggers, just to contrast. Because the CanSlim is a bit more of a quick trading book. Invest in bull markets, invest when a stock is going up, invest in the positive, right? Sell quickly when it starts going down, protect your capital. That's what CanSlim is about. Versus the 100 Baggers by Chris Meyer is basically do all the work up front, buy a stock, forget about it for the rest of your life. And I'm not saying those are the 2 best books. What I love and why I read those 2 even myself occasionally is because of the contrast from that quick trade to that hold forever. And, it really kind of grounds me in those 2 things. So that's why I haven't read Peter Lynch in a while. But yeah, I'd say the podcasts out there are absolutely fantastic. Would you ever show your small cap portfolio? No, I don't tend to do that. I know other people show their portfolio online. The problem with that is that I have 4,000 plus subscribers on YouTube. I have 3,000 plus subscribers on X. I have other platforms that I'm on as well. I don't want people copying me. I just don't. If I start putting out a portfolio, these are the stocks I own, this is how my position size and everything, I know what would happen, and people would just copy it, and that would get me probably in a lot of trouble, right? Ian Castle doesn't do it. Paul Andriola doesn't do it. Ryan Irvine at Keystone doesn't do it. I'm not saying I'm those guys, but I've got enough of a social media following that is dangerous. I think putting out portfolios isn't a great thing. I do love it with some of the smaller retail investors. Like I know I just promoted a Substack here a couple days ago. Rodrigo, I believe, is Lazama. Oh, geez, I'm pronouncing this terribly. I might even have the name wrong. But my apologies. But he's a smaller retail investor, and he's putting out his portfolio. I love seeing that, where it's like an average person tracking their wins and success. But right now, I try to teach people how to fish, right? I try to say, hey, here's a company, here's why I think it might be good, here's why I think it might be bad, here's the information. I want you to go make your own decision and learn how to invest. If I start handing out my own portfolio, people won't learn how to fish. They'll just be taking fish from me and trying to copy me. So yeah, well, Voxter is a shit show. Is Voxter at zero yet? Voxter is a terrible company. I made a video on them once. They went down to like 20 cents. And the CEO came out with this promotion that turned out to be a whole bunch of lies. But I was like, well, there's enough people interested in this company. It might bounce off 20 cents. It's pretty much gone to zero, right? So yeah, Voxter was not a winner. My favorite book last year was Nick and Zach's Adventures in Capitalism. That's a good one. There's a new one being promoted. I think it's Market Makers. People are saying that one's good, or Capital Markets. Yeah, there's some good books out there. I have trouble finding the time. This is my side hustle. This is my hobby, is investing in stocks. And so I probably work, I don't know, 70 hours a week. So I don't have tons of time to read, believe it or not. But yeah, that's fantastic. Nick and Zach's Adventure in Capitalism. I will go take a look. Didn't even think about it like that. Nice of you to recognize your reach. Yeah, no problem. And it's just, yeah, I'm never putting out my portfolio. None of the other big guys are doing it. So I don't think people learn from that, right? I want people to look at the stocks I present, make sure they're, because again, it's not financial advice. And I put out these articles, and someday I'm going to end up writing a book. But you have to understand that, how can I put this? How you invest should be different, right? It's different for every person. It should be different if you're a large capital investor. Like if you're investing 50 to 100 grand in a stock, how you invest is going to be different from a person investing $50 in a stock or $500 in a stock. And it also depends on your life and how much money you're willing to risk, and what happens if hash, simply solventless concentrates, happens and you get a stock that's down 75%. Is that your only stock and you just lost 75% of every dollar you have in your bank account? Or is that one of 50 stocks that you own and you lost an insignificant amount of money? It's so hard to do. And I think it's dangerous for large platforms to put out a portfolio for that reason, right? It's just harder. So teach people to fish. Not all these companies that I introduce will be winners, but some of them will be. And I get days like today where I'm allowed to celebrate that, because we're in another bull market, belated bull market in microcap stocks. There's a lot of companies out there making people money. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm an hour and 12 minutes into this thing. I'm done losing my voice. I'm tired. I'm getting old. Time to go to bed. And congratulations. If you own these stocks, you're making money. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it. You could be anywhere. You're sitting here talking about microcap stocks with me, and that's amazing. It's humbling, and it's fantastic to see so many people willing to talk about microcap stocks, build up this microcap investing community with more great investors, and see where we can take it. So thank you. I'll see you again next week, and hopefully I'll have another stock to introduce to you later in the week, probably on Friday.